probably the best in the league.
Yeah, that's what they say. Top 3. Yeah, right up there.
It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
And welcome into the podcast. It's a bit of a hiatus for the Sittin Sportside podcast. We got the MLB previews. We're already a week into the season. So if you want to check those out anyway, even though it's a week into the season, you can go to youtube.com/team1045. Look up the Sittin Sportside podcast. I, Eric Hanman, have previewed all of the divisions in Major League Baseball. But this podcast, not about baseball. It's about NBA playoffs, NBA MVP talk. And guess what? I'm not alone today. For the first time in a while. And I'm going to be joined by John Longton.
How you doing?
Now, John, you even know John from other podcasts, but he's officially part of the Sittin Sportside crew. Mike James will be back eventually, in case you've missed good old Mike James. So, John, you're a Knicks fan, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, and I'm unfortunately a Nets fan, so we won't be talking about our teams making it in the playoffs, but the good news is we have playoffs to watch, and I think it's going to be it's going to be fun to watch some of these playoff games. I mean, if you watch the Knicks or the Nets this season, Nets have been playing really, really well as of late. So
as of late,
yeah, they have.
Where was that all season long?
Well, I was talking to a fellow Nets fan recently.
Yes.
At a bar, and they basically, Jeremy Lin went down early in the season.
Oh, Jeremy Lin.
And a point guard's important. And he pitched that to me, and I said, you know what? You're right. A point guard's very important.
Is he the focal point of the Nets right now, Jeremy Lin?
Hey, before you start,
what's his line? What's Jeremy Lin's line?
He was out a lot of games.
Okay.
What's his line? I don't have the stats up ahead of me, but I'm pretty sure he about like 16, 17 points per game with upper towards 7 to 8 assists a game.
So they won 6 of the last 10. Are you telling me if the Nets were healthy all season, they would be in that eighth seed in the playoffs? Maybe
I thought because they started off the season pretty well. Like by pretty well, I mean they were like 3-2, maybe 2-3, something like that.
Yeah, that's killer for the Nets.
So yeah, I do think that they might have been in the conversation. I'm not going to say that they would have gotten in over the Bulls or the Heat here as we're recording this podcast. We're going to talk about the playoffs as a whole, but the 8th seed not taken care of in the Eastern Conference. We'll get to that.
Yet.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, that being said, did we bring up the Celtics? I don't know if we did, but I'm bringing them up now. It looks like the Celtics are going to be the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
They have a good shot. They definitely have a good shot.
And so this point will be moot if that does not end up happening, because like I said, we're recording this on April 10th, and a lot's going to happen during the next couple of days to where maybe the Cavs end up somehow pulling off the 1 seed, but it looks good for the Celtics now.
Let me ask you a question. The Cavs resting their starters tonight, an important game, are they kind of just giving the Celtics the 1 seed at the start? Are they saying it's not that important? You heard LeBron James talk about regular season games aren't important.
Right.
I've been to how many finals in a row now? 6, 7?
I want to say 7, yeah.
It's about that.
It would be a 7th?
Is it? Will it?
It would be a 7th because he was 4 in a row with the Heat.
That's right.
And it's 2 in a row with the Cavs.
Gotcha. So they just don't care until the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, that's what they've been saying all year, kind of.
But then again, when they faced the Celtics last week, and it was kind of the 1 seed was looming
in Boston.
In Boston,
Oof.
they took care of business. Do you think the Cavs can turn on a switch and just play whenever they want to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what it's been with. That's what we all said, kind of when it's happened. It's just, that's what the wrestling players kind of is what it's for. It's for being able to let guys not really care about basketball for a little bit. And I say that as much as like they can not care as possible. Like they're still thinking about it, still living, breathing, practicing and whatnot. But to give them a mental day of rest, they can come out and be fully pure when they get out onto the court.
Do you think
we saw this with Ty Lawson, and it's completely irrelevant to the NBA season because Sacramento Kings way out of it. Who gives a darn about Ty Lawson nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But Ty Lawson sat out because they've been resting him for a few days. He came out yesterday, and while they still lost, he had a pretty darn good game, and that's after resting. It was really fresh. So there is something to the resting, unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say it. There is something to the resting. I don't know what we're going to do about it, what the NBA should do about it.
Shorten the season.
Right, that's another
conversation.
Always the conversation. That's always like the pitch. But can you do that? Can you get the money and get the owners to take less money? They already sent it by a week, so I wonder how that's going to change things. But what's the bigger reason? Let me ask you this. What is the biggest reason why the resting is a problem? Why are we talking? Why is this such a big deal?
I don't believe it's a problem personally.
Okay, but I like that. Cool. But what is the main narrative shaping this argument?
The main narrative is a family guy brings his family for a birthday or something.
What if
spends $1,000 on tickets?
What if we introduced like a $5 or $10 insurance thing? So in addition to you paying for your ticket, you pay an extra additional $5 for the ticket insurance, and you get to pick one player from the home team, or maybe even the away team too. I don't know. And you get to pick one player, so if that person doesn't play because of a coach's decision, rest. I mean, if it's an injury, like a broken leg or something like that, a freak accident, or just a regular wear and tear, like they could say flu happened, then you don't get that. But with the $5, I feel like I'm losing myself here. But it's still something. It's something.
What if somebody
to deal with just that purpose in general?
What if somebody's hurt and they have to come, or their timelines to come back in 2 weeks, and you're kind of on that 2-week timeline there?
They're still ruled out by a doctor.
Yeah, but you buy your tickets within that 2 weeks when you know he's hurt.
I'm talking,
and you pick a game that he may or may not be back for.
That would be your fault.
True.
So I'm talking about long-term people
I'm just looking
buying these tickets, the $5 insurance.
For an edge, you know.
It's not an awful idea,
I'm looking to
right?
scam your system, more or less.
What's that?
I'm looking to scam your system.
Yeah, but it's not terrible. It's not a terrible idea, right?
No, it's a great idea. So
yeah, but to answer your original question, I think the Cavs, that's what they're all about. No one really is going to come out. How many people? Because we've been talking about the Celtics as a real threat. I've been talking about the Wizards as a real threat. And I might even still pick the Wizards. We'll stay tuned for this. Raptors, another one. But how many people still would be shocked that if it's not the Cavs in the finals? I think 99.99% people would, right?
Yeah.
So
how many people are going to be shocked if it's not a finals rematch of the past 2 seasons?
Right, exactly. That's what the season's.
That's what all it's lining up for.
We've been saying this since August 1st, and that was before even a training camp even began.
Right. We've been saying this since Game 7 of last year.
Right, exactly. So they definitely can turn it on, but that's where this comes into play of who do we think? And let's look at the Eastern Conference playoffs. The Cavaliers or Celtics, hopefully we're predicting this right because things could go differently, but I think we're looking at the Celtics as a 1 seed. And, my Nets are playing right now against the Celtics. So I'm hoping that they keep the Celtics out of it. And being a Nets fan as well, I hope the Celtics lose first round, which I'll tell you why I think that they might. So if they get that 1 seed, Cavaliers 2, Raptors basically locked into the 3, while the Wizards and Hawks will play most likely with the Bucks. Pacers look like they're clinched. It's going to come down to either the Bulls or the Heat. Now, my question to you is, Bulls, Heat against either the Celtics or Cavs, looking like the Celtics, either one of those teams you think have a chance to upset the number 1 seed?
Oh, geez. It depends how D. Wade's playing, I feel like, for Chicago. He's been playing pretty well lately. Mm-hmm. That's kind of an interesting mix. It's a very young team with D. Wade leading them. So I'm not really sure. You don't really know who they are yet. They're still kind of growing, as weird as that sounds.
Let's talk about people turning it on in the playoffs. Well, who else would turn it on better than D. Wade? Especially because he doesn't have to be the D. Wade that he was even last year. You know what I'm talking about? Because D. Wade took over the playoff series. They won that Hornets series of Miami Heat. This is when he did the Heat, not the Bulls. He won that playoff series against the Hornets because he just turned on another level. They weren't able to get to the conference finals. They lost to the Raptors. It was a good series, but now he doesn't have to be himself 100% of the time. Like, he only has to go out there and play 20 to 25 minutes of D. Wade because you got Jimmy Butler, who will be that guy for them in the playoffs. Now, we still don't know if they're going to be the team to be in. And I also think that Miami Heat, ironically, the team that they're competing with the most is Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. Eric Spoelstra's done a great job with that team. And I thought the Heat were going to come back and make the playoffs. They went on like a huge winning streak after they were the second worst team in the Eastern Conference record-wise a month or 2 into the season, month and a half, 2 months into the season.
Right.
And they worked them way up, huge, massive winning streak. And I thought they were going to continue that above 500 play. But they've kind of stumbled as of late. I think they might be able to get in. But here's my thought. I think that if the Bulls get the 8 seed and that the Celtics do get the 1 seed, I look at the Celtics, and it says that even if they play the Pacers, I look at them as a pretty vulnerable team in that first round.
Really?
I really do, because...
What makes you say that?
Okay, so let's look at what makes them go. Isaiah Thomas. Well, the most important part of a playoff team. So we're looking at Hoiberg, right? The Bulls, Spoelstra, like I said, and then even the Pacers, Nate McMillan. Their most important part is the game plan to stop Isaiah Thomas. So how can you do that? Is it going to be easy? No. But if you find a way to halt Isaiah Thomas, who's going to beat you on the Boston Celtics? Right? You got anyone for me? Who's going to beat you in the fourth quarter if you somehow stop? I mean, that's how the great players will still find ways to win. But I think that the Bulls. I look at the Bulls, and this moves more towards the Bulls, but it even goes to the Heat. The Bulls are 20-23 against teams above 500. The Celtics are 17-19. So those are pretty, and it's kind of interesting because the Bulls will probably be either 500 or under 500. So then, does that count as a team over 500 because they're playing less? I'm kind of like losing myself here, but you know what I'm saying? Like they might be under 500, but they're playing them.
I believe
so does that market even matter in that scenario?
If D-Wade wasn't injured for a lot of the season, then they would be over 500. They'd be a shoo-in for the playoffs.
My point here,
and now he's back. No, yeah, you're making.
Look at the
sense.
Cavs. They're 21-17 over 500. Raptors are 19-17. Wizards are 19-19. Even the Atlanta Hawks at 5 seed are 18-18. My point being, the Boston Celtics, while 17-19 is just a game worse than 18-18, so how nitpicking am I being? That's a fair argument. But man, I don't know how great they're going to be in consistently facing a team that are above 500. 34-10, a team's below 500. So I think the Celtics are going to be a vulnerable team because I think when's the last time we saw them playing like a team that was consistently good? Last playoff series, and they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. So I think that the Celtics going up against a Bulls team, if that's who they're playing, that's going to be tough. Because like I said, D-Wade, Jimmy Butler. I don't know if I can say for sure that a guy like Jerian Grant or maybe even Rondo could shut down Isaiah Thomas, but I think that they have a good enough defensive prowess to do so. And maybe it is Jimmy Butler on the defensive end. Yeah, I know it's big time. No one's expecting that. I mean, everyone's thinking it's going to be Celtics, Cavs, conference finals, but
I can see that.
Are you
a gambling man?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the wager.
You should hit somebody up in Vegas and put some money on that.
Put money on that. Sounds like going down in the first round.
Yeah, you're swaying me. I kind of want to put some money on it with you, to be honest.
I'm swaying. Yeah. Anyone else? I look at anyone in the Eastern Conference before we get to the Western Conference really look good to you that you like in the Eastern Conference. That's not the Cavs. Could be the Celtics. Go ahead.
I mean the Wizards. Obviously, they're playing pretty well right now. You know?
Well, that's the part that bothers me. Is they're not playing as well as they had been a month or so ago. It's like one of those things where you really like a team at one point, and then now you see what they're playing now, and it's like, can't you get back to the other level so I can really feel confident in picking you?
Yeah,
but
they're 6-4 in their last 10, so maybe they're kind of gearing up for the playoffs.
Yeah,
but they're not a good road team though. They're 18-21.
Right,
on the road,
they're really good. They're really good at home. So luckily for them, they'll be able to have that home court advantage in that first round.
Yeah.
But past that, it's going to be tough for them maybe to go into Cleveland or go into
Well, if it
Boston.
all lines up the way you're saying, then
they would have home court advantage over the Bulls.
Second round as well. Yeah,
true.
So, and then maybe this team has new life, has new light, start getting inspired.
It's going to all come down to the stars. Right? It's going to come down to whether John Wall and then Bradley Beal, who was an all-star snub for 100%, if they going to come out and actually show up in the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs last year, which was very shocking.
Mm-hmm.
But they come back and make it this year. 2 years ago, they win a first round series, but it was a lot of Paul Pierce. So it's going to be up to what John Wall and what Bradley Beal do in the playoffs, and that's what's going to really tell me whether this team is a for real competitor in the Aprils and Mays in the future. Even if it's not this year that they get there, they could be one for the future because they're still really young. This will be the time where I'll be like, okay, this team could be for real soon. I like them actually to get to the conference finals. I think that they're going to, well, crap. Because if the Cavs get it, then I feel the conference finals, I think, will actually be in the semifinal, conference semis. So if it happens to be Cavs-Wizards in the second round, 1 versus the 4, Now I think is the real final, even though you'll still get a Celtics or Raptors. Because you know what I'm saying? I think if the Wizards beat the Cavs there, I think they. But then you have the wear and tear of that series. The Raptors could take advantage of that, especially because they'd have the home court advantage.
I feel like the Raptors are just here every year, and
they're there again, and Lowry's coming back from the injury that he had. So,
I mean, I'd like to say you never know with all these teams, but
they were a young raw team before, but now they're experienced.
True, but I mean, all signs point to Cleveland going back to the finals.
Yes, I agree.
I really can't, get past any other team besides Cleveland going back to the finals.
I think the most important part is a team being able to push Cleveland in Cleveland. Because we saw last year's conference finals, we had the Cleveland destroy the Toronto at Cleveland games 1 and games 2. Game 3 and 4, the Raptors gave it to the Cavs.
Yeah.
And then in game 5, I believe Cavs won at home, and then they end up taking game 6 on the road, from what I remember. But it's like because no one seems to be able to beat Cleveland in Cleveland, and that's what's going to be important in the playoff series. Obviously, they're going to have to do it once if they're the 1 seed. Other teams are going to have to, but Lowry's really yanked up the minutes. Like he's played 42, 36, and 38 in the last few games, so he's getting ready to go for the playoffs. So the Raptors could be a team that, because they acquired PJ Tucker and Serge Ibaka at the deadline, they were kind of a quiet team, especially because you had the Wizards coming up. Now the Raptors maybe are a team that no one's really talking about because you got the Celtics, and then I'm talking about the Wizards. Maybe they're the team. Maybe they're the team with the most experience in the playoffs now.
Right. They're sneaky good.
So they can be sneaky. But yeah, I agree with you. And because I would be surprised if Cavaliers don't make it, but I'm saying that I think the Wizards are my next. They're the team that I think could also do it. But I guess I gotta go with Cleveland because that's just kind of like the gut. Well, it's not really a gut feeling. It's just kind of something that you just assume it's going to happen almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Western Conference is kind of similar. Am I wrong?
No, it's very similar.
Okay, so
I'm looking forward to the. Is it shaping up to be Houston, Oklahoma City in the first round?
It's guaranteed.
That's something that I'm more interested in anything. I want to see Harden versus Westbrook.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate first round series for me because I'm someone who likes Harden and Westbrook, and I want both of them to possibly have a chance to play for a conference championship. Yeah, the problem with the Thunder, on the same note I was talking about, because I can't sit here and be looking at Oklahoma City and saying that I love them and think that Westbrook could will them to a win over the Rockets and say that the Celtics are going to lose first round because they don't have a good record against teams over 500.
Right.
Because by that same logic, the Thunder have really struggled against teams that are 500 or better. And Westbrook doesn't have enough help, in my personal opinion. The Rockets. And then here's the other argument. We'll get to this in a second. One of the biggest arguments is Westbrook doesn't have enough help. And that's why he deserves the MVP over James Harden. Well, by that logic, the Rockets should win this series. I'm going to ask another question. If Russell Westbrook wills this team, the Thunder team, not just to a round 1 win, not just to a conference championship.
Okay.
If they somehow won it all, if Westbrook somehow willed this team to win it all, would you make the argument that could you make the argument that he might be the best player on the planet?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's obviously huge hypothetical. It's huge hypothetical because they're not going to get out of the first round. But
hypothetically speaking, if that happened, you'd have a conversation. Is he one of the greatest players of all time?
What if he only gets to the conference final? So let's say he still brings this Thunder team, to a back-to-back conference final, and they lose again to the Warriors. Where does that argument lie now? And then LeBron wins his 4th championship, something like that. Then it's just, you're still LeBron, but would you automatically put Westbrook number 2? Because this team should not beat the Rockets. Rockets are from top to bottom or better. But if Westbrook somehow gets them to beat the Rockets, then they go on to beat the Spurs again in the semi. I mean, dang.
To be honest, to get the 6th seed in the West is kind of, above and beyond for this team.
Yeah, the big thing is, they didn't win enough games. Well, we're sitting there looking, they won 46. They could very well win 48 while we're talking this right now.
Right.
That's still a lot of wins. They didn't get to the 50.
Right.
But it's still a lot of wins. It's only 8 games behind, where Harden is. Yeah, and then Harden has a dumb comment. In my personal opinion, we'll get to that in a second, but we'll get to that. We'll save that for the MVP talk in a little bit. Any other team? I think the big question for me is Clippers or Jazz. one of those two teams for real, and it's one of those two teams, whoever comes out of that matchup, assuming the Warriors get past the Blazers, which if I were the Warriors, I would actually be a little bit like, right, we got to see the Trailblazers again, because the Trailblazers saw them last year in the playoffs. Now, they handled them pretty easily, the Warriors did, but they also were able to acquire, the Blazers did, Jusuf Nurkic, who could be a big-time guy inside. And we've talked about everyone was going nuts when Cousins got there because they thought Cousins might have been able to get the team to the 8th seed with Davis. Obviously, that didn't happen. But the big thing there was, the Warriors are scared. They don't want to see Davis and Cousins. Well, if Nurkic could come back out, that's the one issue, is that Nurkic 2 weeks ago was shut down indefinitely for a couple of weeks due, I believe, to an knee injury. But if he can come back, because he's participated in a shoot-around recently, I think that they could be an interesting team against them. But assuming, once again, we preempted it, assuming they get past the Blazers, which they probably will, and most likely 100% will, because the Warriors have been on
I wouldn't give it 100%. I'd give it a 99.9%.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Got to give the Blazers some kind of chance. Basically, for everything I've just said, it was the 0.01% chance why the Blazers might have a chance. But Clippers or Jazz? I know a lot of people are bullish on the Jazz because how good they've been defensively with the Stifle Tower and which is Rudy Gobert.
I still got to go Clippers.
You think Clippers are going to win that series?
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, what is a realistic expectation for the Clippers against the Warriors?
I think they could take them to
get to the conference
6 or 7 maybe if they matched up together.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see that. I mean, it's two different styles of play. And you never really. It depends what game they're playing. To be honest, what type of tempo and all that other stuff. But
you're talking about a team that
Clippers window is
has
closing.
Been resting a long time. I know that a lot of players have been out due to injury.
Yeah,
but it's kind of been. Doesn't it kind of feel like they could have played? I mean, Chris Paul was out for an extended period of time, but he probably took his time getting back. Blake Griffin earlier in the year probably took his time getting back. There's kind of this sense that Doc Rivers has been making sure his guys are 100% healthy when they come back, because he knew they were going to get to this position, especially because of their hot start to the year.
Right. And
that's exactly what happened. Sure, they don't have one of the top 3 seeds, but now they look like they're healthy heading into the playoffs. So if that being the case, now I'm right there with you, because the Jazz, while they look good as a defensive team, with a defensive prowess, like I said, with Rudy Gobert inside, and Gordon Hayward is probably the star a star of this league that you don't really know about.
Clippers won the last 5 straight.
Yeah, and look.
Last 8 of their 10.
The Jazz are 16-22 in games of teams above 500 against teams above 500, which is by far the worst of the top 5 teams.
I think the Clippers are a dark horse to win the conference. I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you.
They're there every year. Their window's closing. You know,
that's exactly what it is, right? It's about this. It's about Chris Paul coming out with, all right, man. Like I have to do something. Like, where's my signature moment in my career,
right,
to be what everyone else has been saying? I'm a great point guard, but I've never played in the conference championship,
right?
And so he needs that signature moment, and nothing bigger signature than beating a team like the Warriors. Now, we'd be remiss if we don't actually bring up the Spurs here. Last year, we all thought Thunder Spurs conference finals. Didn't happen. This year, we're thinking the same thing. Any team, so it'd have to be either the Grizzlies or Rockets or Thunder. Which team would get the best chance? Probably the Rockets probably have the best chance to beat the Spurs, but do you see the Spurs getting back to the conference finals?
I do. It all depends on how healthy Aldridge is. How's he been lately?
Oh, he's been back from that scare. I mean, he only kept him out a couple games, so he's been resting up and he's ready to go.
Right. And Kawhi's a different beast in the playoffs as well. He turns in on another gear.
Oh, if they did, they would have gotten to the finals last year. He's a different beast in the playoffs. I'll have to hold you to that one.
Maybe in the beginning rounds of the playoffs.
No, yeah, but the thing with the Spurs is do you even know that they have Pau Gasol? I mean, they have Pau Gasol.
Yeah, it's like
because people,
he's
a really good player.
You definitely forget, yeah.
And they didn't necessarily need him in the regular season as much. He was injured for a portion of the season to still be as good as they were. And you bring up Kawhi Leonard, of course, he's a great player in the playoffs. He won Finals MVP in 2014, and right 2014, and the Spurs, from top to bottom, seem to have players like Patty Mills, and this is why the Warriors are really good too. They have guys who come off the bench and can still carry a second unit, even against sometimes a top unit. Teams that can really play well, and especially the second unit. That's the big thing for me, is the second unit of that Warriors team always seems to extend the lead in the playoffs whenever I seem to watch them. And that's the big part about the Spurs too, is Patty Mills can come out and give them a big... so I am kind of rooting to see... if I have to see the Warriors in the conference finals, I am kind of rooting to see Warriors-Spurs because it'll be a really good series.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's going to be Warriors-Cavs. I mean, it's kind of hard not to pick against it because we've been picking it so long. I got to stick with it now.
Yeah,
But I do like all the teams that I said before. Wizards. I like your idea about the Clippers. And, if I had to pick another team in the Western Conference, I think I would pick the Spurs. Well, I guess it had to be the Spurs. It's tough. I wanted to see Russell Westbrook will this team to make a season, this great season into a phenomenal season. You know, it'd just be ridiculous.
I mean, story's not written yet.
Insane.
Story's not written.
It's
so
not.
You never know.
And he could be a guy right now in the playoffs that could average 50 points a game. That's how much he needs to play. And I'll say more realistically he'll have to average 44, 45 points per game. But that's something he'll have, if he has to do it, he will do it. The problem, the question is, will him or Pat Beverly get in a fist fight? That's the real question. Because Pat Beverly, a big reason why the Thunder's playoff chances ended a few months. Man, a few years ago when Westbrook was knocked out of the playoffs and they promptly lost to the Grizzlies in the next round. Durant couldn't carry them. Durant couldn't carry them.
So who's a better player?
Who's a better player?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, this is a long pause. It's a tough question.
What do you got?
I'm gonna have to go with, unfortunately, Kevin Durant.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd argue the opposite.
Okay. I mean, you saw me. I was so torn. I didn't know.
I know.
But,
all right. So, what makes you say that?
Well, immediately you look at the size. At 6'11", he's able to do things that even Westbrook, I can't say Westbrook, but he's able to do things from the perimeter that not many people his size can. And with everything that he can do, with ridiculous shots, and look at the difference between him and Russell Westbrook is Westbrook's a guy who just goes a mile a minute. Well, a guy like Durant doesn't necessarily have to go fast. He just needs to be able to get in his set, and he can make things over you no matter how fast he's going. If Westbrook isn't able to get beat your speed, then he's going to be shooting a lot of 6 or 25s like he did the other day.
Right.
It's tough. It's tough because they're two different players.
I think
it's
Durant,
like we're comparing apples to oranges right
now. We are. But I don't know. I just think Durant gets nicked up too easily, to be honest.
Interesting. Well, let me ask you this. Who do you blame in Game 6 of the finals last year, Westbrook or Durant? I personally blame Durant because that's the guy who is the big-time shooter, the guy who needed to put together a nice run to stop what Klay Thompson was doing.
Right.
Westbrook, I don't necessarily blame. He was just as bad, but he wasn't, because he was never the guy, and that's because Durant was always the guy you would go to if you need a bucket. And even that's the problem though, because Westbrook has made some big time shots. It's just look how much they've gotten absolutely destroyed by the Warriors, and that's nothing about Durant versus Durant versus Westbrook.
Yeah,
because that's just a better team, the Warriors, from top to bottom. But like I said, it's hard to compare the two. One's a 6'2" guard, the other's a 6'11" power forward, small forward, really, but it's built like a power forward, I guess. It's a lot height-wise. But think about that, a 6'11" small forward, that's big enough to you.
Yeah.
It's like asking, who do you think's better, Curry or LeBron? Because LeBron's a physical specimen, but Curry is a 6'1" guy who just knows how to get his shot off and does a really good job with the ball. Who's better? Well, everyone will say LeBron, but the numbers from the last couple two MVP seasons would all say Curry. Just like with the Westbrook. The numbers are going to say Westbrook, but I think the answer is Durant.
Yeah, I'd still say Westbrook.
I want to say Westbrook too.
He's in a different gear. He's got more energy than any player I've ever seen in my life.
So let's get into the MVP talk. Who are you giving MVP to? Because before we hopped on these mics, when the mics got hot, you were telling me that you thought that the triple doubles were getting overblown. Like, no, what's the big deal about triple double?
I did think. Well, I do think that triple doubles are overblown because I feel like it's a different game. There's not as many bigs as there once was, and teams are shooting more threes.
Not as many dominant bigs.
Dominant. All right, okay. Yeah. Not as many dominant bigs. Sorry. Teams are shooting more threes, and you're getting longer rebounds, so that has something to do with it. I'm sure there's a couple rebounds a night that are a little longer that he's getting. Also,
right. That's 100% true.
So I don't know,
but he's still a good rebounding guard. I mean, this is something that I've learned as someone who's even played with bigger kids. I am 6'2" myself, but when you play with bigger kids too, it's all about positioning, and you're gonna lose out. It's all positioning and your motor. If you crash the board, you can get rebounds even if there's a big guy right there. And obviously you're gonna lose, especially against the guys who are 6'8", 6'9". You're gonna miss out on some rebounds. But to your point, not many people crash the boards. So when you're a 6'2", 6'3" guard like Westbrook is, and you're crashing boards when there's not too many bigs around the glass, it's easier to get the rebounds but when you got Cantor, Adams defending against Gasol, and he somehow comes up with that rebound. We'll work on it. That's a quote from the movie Rebound, by the way, with Martin Lawrence.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you have sound?
I don't have sound.
Oh, geez.
But it is from it. But yeah, I think that the rebounding is still impressive, especially from a guard.
All right. So that being said, I think what he did last night against the Nuggets, hitting that game-winning shot on the night that he passed Oscar Robertson, I think that solidified his MVP right there.
But that wasn't the first time, though, man. Like I think he's the MVP, 100%. This wasn't the first time that happened. He was willing his team. So he had a game against the Mavericks where they were behind. They were behind like 13 points with about 4 minutes to go. He scores 11 to 13 to tie it, and then he hits the game winner. I mean, this guy has been doing it all season, and for you to finally give it to him yesterday is awesome. But he's just been the wire-to-wire MVP, in my personal opinion.
Wire to wire?
Wire to wire. There was not a time where I was thinking, maybe when the first game happened, everyone's like, okay, it's LeBron's to lose because he's the best player on the planet. But after that first game, it was like, this guy's going to win MVP if he keeps up this pace. Guess what? He kept up the pace. He kept it up.
He did.
Because think about this. Last year, Steph Curry was on obviously a 73-9 historical team, but what was his claim to fame, so to speak? Like, what was his claim to why he should deserve MVP? Other than that, he led the league in scoring. Westbrook's leading the league in scoring this year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg because look what else he's doing with passing the basketball and rebounding the basketball. Oh, and by the way, he's on a team that lost a top 3 player in the league and somehow still got them to 46, whatever wins he ends up with, and a 6th seed in the Western Conference, which everyone says is great.
Do you think he's running away with it, or do you think there's a close second?
Oh, it's a close second just because of how good James Harden has been from a passing standpoint in his new position, moving to point guard. But how much of that is Mike D'Antoni, and how much of that is being on a team that can make has historically made the most threes in a season in the NBA? Hear me out here. Mike D'Antoni comes in. What does he do? What's his biggest claim to fame? They don't really play that as much defense, so you can get out and run, get a lot of buckets. Obviously, this has already been a three-point shooting team, even when it was under a different coach, like McHale or whatnot, Bickerstaff, whoever was at the end of last season. But D'Antoni also does that. He'd come out and make threes. So if you're James Harden and you have guys like Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, a power forward, he can knock down shots from the perimeter. You trade for Lou Williams. You bring in Eric Gordon. These are guys who all can knock down shots from the perimeter. You beat, for most three-pointers made all time, of one of the greatest teams of all time, last year's Warriors team. You beat their record of most three-pointers in a season. So, yes, James Harden is averaging 11 assists. But how many of those assists are he gets it to an open man who happens to shoot the three-pointer and goes in? And they're historically making 3-pointers. That's still a big time of assisting. You could say the same thing about Westbrook. But I think Westbrook's assists, in my personal opinion, are more impressive because they're not only he's the one creating, and not saying that Harden is not creating the looks for his teams, but think about the 3-point shooting, and you get assists and you pass it to a guy and he makes a difficult 3-pointer. The 3-point shooting is a lot better than the Thunder have. Their best 3-point shooter, the Thunder, who is it? Alex Abrinas? When Anthony Morrow when they had him? Harden's assists, I think a lot of them are coming from open threes, which when you have a team that's historically making the threes, I don't want to take away from what Harden's done this season because I think it's been a historical great season. Right. It's hard for him not because he's going to get snubbed. I think he should have won 2 years ago when Curry won it. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get snubbed again this year, in my personal opinion, because Westbrook's having an amazing season. But I also think that his assists might be a little overrated because of how good they've been from the perimeter making threes. If you were a jury, what would your verdict be of that? You know what, Eric has a good point, or eh?
No, you have a good point. Yeah, for sure. What I wanted to bring up earlier is both these guys are 1 and 2 in the league in turnovers.
Yes, they are.
And not even just by a little bit. They're leading it by far.
Yeah, who's number 3?
Number 3 is John Wall. He's got 322.
Okay. Dang it. Okay, who's number 4?
Number 4 is LeBron.
Yeah. Okay. I know they're leading by a lot, but anyone who wants to bring the turnover battle to me, LeBron James is not a point guard. Guess what both those guys are? Westbrook and Harden. They have the ball the most out of anybody. LeBron James, while he does take the ball up a lot, he's not Kyrie Irving. He's not the point guard of that team, and he's turning the ball over also a lot. So just keep that in mind for all because let's not talk about how. Let's talk about that, but let's not talk about like how LeBron is like way off. Like he's not even top 20. He's number 4.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
keep going.
They're gonna set
how big is the difference? They're gonna set a record.
They're gonna set a record. They're gonna be 1 and 2 all time in turnovers. But all right, so LeBron has 303. John Wall has 322. Can you take a stab at how many Russell Westbrook has?
Is it 476?
No. A little under that. It's 434. 434. I'm sure he'll have probably 7 more tonight.
Oh, you sure?
Maybe 6 more tonight. All right. And then James Harden, how many do you think he has? He's leading the league.
Probably 30 more then.
He's got 21 more.
21 more.
455. So how does that kind of rank when they're turning the ball over at an astronomical rate?
Yeah,
compared like traditionally.
I don't know what's the turnover rate of Curry from a year or 2 ago. I don't know.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, because LeBron's the best player in the world, yet he's 3rd, or excuse me, 4th. He still has 300.
Do you think LeBron should have more MVPs than he has currently?
How many does he have? 3 or 4?
Something like that. But are we spoiled having LeBron right now?
I hate that word, spoiled. Yes,
I mean,
100% though.
So we kind of just like
I had a revelation.
We always look for a reason not to give it to LeBron, then a reason to give it to LeBron. I feel
I'm definitely spoiled by LeBron. I think if we're gonna talk about it, I've had it's been 2 years since my last LeBron hate.
Okay.
I think about it every day. I just want to go out there and make a 4th quarter joke where he doesn't, if he gave LeBron $1, he'd only give you 3 quarters back. I just want see like I was there. Like
you know what?
It was almost like I because I was there where I'm not talking. It's been more than 2 years. I realized this. Okay, I realized how good LeBron. Well, it's one of those things where I always knew LeBron was really good. I didn't really want to like him because he's still a guy that it's hard to like sometimes because of how much he whines not only on the court but off the court.
When he first got in the league, I really liked him, but the whole decision
that doesn't help him. I mean, there's a lot of things that hurt his case and why he is hated as much as he is by some people.
Like, what gives you the right?
To answer your question, we are 100% spoiled by LeBron James because the only player in the NBA right now that would make a team a title contender if he went to a different team is LeBron James, and that's just how historically he is good. But it's just hard. It was always hard for me to like him. And even dating back to the last finals, like you see him whine a lot on the court, and you see that face. It's just
he whines. He's a flopper. He gets nicked up left and right.
Yeah.
And then he's good to go.
And then he has one of the best teams talent-wise, one of the best GMs that has done everything he can to bring good talent to him. And what do we hear him do in January and February? This team needs a playmaker.
Need more help.
We need more help.
We need more help.
We suck.
What are you going to do?
Like,
I kind of sound like
keep that
Shaq.
stuff internal, man. Like, go talk to your... I know you're probably the most coveted interview by anybody at an arena in the NBA. Like, everyone wants to talk to you because you get to talk every day. It's part of your job. But still, I don't want to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Because not only are you the best player in the world, but you have a lot of talent around you and you want more?
Well, he's got a legacy to uphold.
Yeah, he does. That's true.
So
he's already upheld it. I think at this point,
he can't do it by himself. He's no Russell Westbrook.
He's already past top 10, and he might have been already at top 5. So
I have him creeping in top 5.
Yeah. So
will he ever get to number 1?
Probably not. It's especially in a lot of people's minds.
Well, what now does LeBron James have to do to get to number 1 best player of all time?
He probably needs to get the 3 more to say he has 6 like Jordan. And then once he gets the 6, so if he does get a 6th championship, LeBron James will have this. He's played in a lot more championships than Michael Jordan has.
Yeah. Jordan played in 6.
So if he gets the 6th championship, he might be able to have a great argument, and he'll have a large generation of fans who will be like, you know how everyone's like on the Jordan train right now because all they were like in their teens and in their early 20s and late 20s when Jordan was at his peak.
Yeah.
That's the people you kind of have in now, like the Michael Smiths, like those type of people. Those people, Michael Jordan, will be LeBron, and then that argument will start filtering, especially if he gets to 6. If he gets to 6, if he gets his 4th this year, I think there's a good chance he gets to 6. But then I think he'll have a pretty legitimate argument to be considered the best of all time.
I kind of hope that doesn't happen.
I know. I do too.
Personally.
I do too. That's just kind of how the nature of it all is, and that's just the story of LeBron James.
I was such a LeBron guy when he first came into the league, and he brought that crap team to the 2004 finals, 2005 finals against the Spurs when they got swept.
That was in 07.
Was that 07?
Yes, but he had a pretty good playoff debut. I think he triple-doubled in his playoff debut, and they had a pretty good few series early in 04.
I was all about him.
His first playoffs.
I was all about him. But the whole decision, man, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. What did he say? What did he get up all the way up to like 8 or something like that?
8,
Come on, dude. Come on, get over yourself. I understand you're having a pep rally. You're trying to, energize the hometown fans. But
do you buy into he needed his college experience?
He needed his college experience?
Is that a legitimate argument for his 4 years in Miami? That I didn't go to college. I wanted my college experience, so that's why I went to Miami, and now I'm back here in Cleveland.
No, don't buy that at all.
That's just like a convenient excuse.
How's that even an excuse? That doesn't even make sense. How does that make sense? Is he going to class? Is it like Brian and Stratton down there while he's playing in games? I don't understand. I needed my college experience. What did you go on spring break for 4 years? Is that what it is?
Basically, I
guess. You need to go to South Beach spring break? I mean, I would love to have that college experience.
The good thing about him is he's kind of Jeter-esque in a way, but no one really looks at him that way, right? He's kind of stayed out. He hasn't made any. What scandal has he?
He's got a clean slate. I'll give you that.
Right?
He's a class act.
To be on that high of a scale and to not have one really blemish on your record, like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe like Chris Carter says, he's got a lot of fall guys. Who knows?
Hey, don't call him a posse, Phil Jackson.
Yeah. Don't get me started with that posse. So am I not allowed to use the word posse anymore?
I don't know.
I can't say me and my posse.
Just don't call Rich Paul and all them guys like the posse.
Jeez Louise, man.
But
that actually kind of made me a little angry because Phil Jackson is all of a sudden a racist.
Right.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What? How does that?
And for the younger generation that don't know what Phil Jackson, has done with his career, I mean, think about the teams that he coached.
Just think of that all-time great Albany Patroons team that he coached in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need to know about Phil Jackson. He can end his career right there, best coach of all time. Being facetious.
I'm glad he went on. He went on to win 11 championships.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't matter.
To add to the 2 that he won as a player.
Just look what he did with Albany Patroons. That's all I'm saying.
That's actually something you probably should do. Like, unless you don't know what he's done with the Albany Patroons.
Yeah.
It's a good history for our city.
Too bad that team's not around anymore.
Too bad we don't have like a real anything anymore.
We have the Valley Cats.
Valley Cats. Yep. That's it. Joe Bruno Stadium.
You know what? Speaking of Valley Cats, Ben Zobrist was a Valley Cat.
Yeah. He was 100 Pence, yeah.
Yeah, but he was the 2016 World Series MVP.
Oh, right. Hunter Pence was also a 2-time World Series champion.
Boom.
That's 4 World Series right there from Valley Cats.
There you go.
Dang.
When are they packing up and moving out of town? breaking their hearts like the rest of these teams. Like
didn't they just sign a new contract with Houston?
I'm not sure.
I think they might have.
Now, I had a question for you. How does it work for this? Is we're getting way off topic here. Now, how does it work?
Yeah, are we done talking about the NBA?
Just
keep going. Just keep going.
How does it work if when a minor league team changes affiliations?
Yeah.
Do they get rid of all their players?
See, when they change affiliations, those same players
Just
that were in those uniforms now goes to whatever the other team signs with.
How often does a minor league team do that?
Whenever the contracts
what level are they doing it at?
It's happened at big levels. Las Vegas,
AAA?
the Las Vegas 51s was the Toronto Blue Jays 3 years ago, and this is ironic. Remember when R.A. Dickey got traded?
Yeah,
that winter, Noah Syndergaard was with the Vegas 51s. I believe. I could be wrong on this, but it goes with it because he was in the Blue Jays organization. That next year, got traded to the Mets in the offseason and reported to the Las Vegas 51s because that was the Mets' new AAA team.
Well, he lucked out. Got to go to Vegas.
How interesting is that? But yeah, that they did that. I don't know exactly what happened. I know that the Rochester AAA team wasn't always the Twins. It was someone else. So it happens a lot. You look at the Yankees. Scranton Wilkes-Barre, they used to be the Columbus Clippers. Now the Columbus Clippers are the Indians AAA. So it just happens. Contracts.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
super weird.
Albany Devils. Albany Devils are now moving to. They're gonna still be the Devils affiliate, but.
So now does Binghamton currently have a team right now that's
they do,
town?
and they're moving to Canada, I think.
Yeah,
it's closer to Ottawa.
They're just a revolving door over there.
Yeah. Apparently their market's bigger than ours, and yeah.
Their facility is not as nice as ours.
But they have a fan base that goes.
Yeah, their fans actually show up to games. When our fans,
I think the River Rats had a lot better of support than the Devils did. So
yeah, they did. How long were the River Rats here for? They were
here for about 11 years, I thought, something like that. It was a long time.
Yeah,
and I remember going to the River Rats games when I was a kid, and to get we got the Devils, but we just couldn't sustain it, I guess, and losing money over there at Times Union Center for every game that's played, which is really unfortunate. But they might make the playoffs. They're in a playoff race right now, and I would love to see them win a Calder Cup on the way out of Albany. How awesome would that be?
That's a mic drop.
Yeah.
That's definitely a mic drop.
Yeah, and if you like hockey enough to want to listen to a podcast, I will have my NHL playoff preview podcast coming up on youtube.com/team1045 very soon.
That's a good plug right there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Good seg, good plug.
So, what's your name?
Huh? Excuse me?
What's your name?
John
Longton.
Yes.
All right, so you're John Longton.
Yes.
And I've been Eric Hanman.
Yes.
This has been the Sittin Sportside podcast.
Sure has been.
All right, so thank you for listening right here on 1045theteam.com. Check out other Sittin Sportside podcasts on youtube.com/team1045. And also check out for future podcasts. We'll have Mike James in the studio eventually in case you guys have missed Mike James. So for John Longton, I'm Eric Hanman. We'll see you next time.
Can't wait.